Nicely, anyone has to do something. Somebody has to say something. And I'm like, nicely, I have a platform. I tell a good tale. So perhaps I have to try to do something. At age 76, Stevie Nicks has ultimately broken her a long-time lengthy silence about a massive secret she's stored close to her heart. Her secretive courting with legendary Eagles bassist Randy Meisner. Despite the fact that the two were rock track icons inside the 70s and 80s, I'm simply wondering, and the guidelines are on fireplace. Is it true? Is that real? People by no means knew about their love tale or unique connection. However, now years later, Stevie Nicks has no longer hesitated to well-known the rumors of that dating. Is this an untold story or only a mystery piece that has lengthy been hidden in the music industry? During the years whilst Fleetwood Mac and the Eagles had been taking turns topping charts, Stevie Nicks and Randy Meisner lived side via facet at the equal musical map. They met at predominant tune events, toured collectively underneath Asylum Statistics, the label that ruled the American rock tune market on the time. From behind-the-scenes meetings, glances, and brief conversations, a unique connection was formed between the two artists. One with a haunting voice and mystical style, the opposite with a quiet, reserved, however touchy lifestyles. Stevie Nicks shared in a 2025 interview that the connection had been a quiet affair for some years, throughout a time whilst she and Fleetwood Mac had been dealing with excessive internal strife, and Meisner become increasingly out of area inside the Eagles. There had been no scandals, no media exposure, no pics collectively. It turned into a planned preference on each aspects. They saved their distance, genuine to their natures. Stevie usually knew what needed to be stored backstage, and Randy by no means wanted to be within the highlight while it wasn't vital. The life of an artist in the 1970s became not without its fleeting relationships, but according to Stevie, Meisner became the simplest person inside the rock scene on the time, who made her experience reputable and heard. He did no longer strive to overcome her with his conduct, did not position himself on a non-public degree, however approached her with empathy and information. She recalled, he did no longer talk plenty, however on every occasion I had to perform and changed into no longer strong sufficient. Randy was the best one who did now not push me to do extra. He continually stated, if I do not sing nowadays, I will sing day after today. It really is. The story turns into even extra unique whilst Stevie reveals a small but meaningful detail. In the course of a 1976 excursion, when she opened her guitar case behind the scenes, there has been a handwritten letter tucked interior. It became a few brief lines from Randy, no name, no date, but Stevie knew it turned into from him. The letter truly stated, I hope you find peace even when you're no longer with me. The words stayed together with her for years, stored in a non-public notebook she continually carried along with her. It was this lengthy silence that made Stevie Nicks' revelation in 2025 this sort of massive marvel. In the 90-minute Netflix interview, she pointed out many components of her existence, but whilst it came to Randy Meisner, her voice trailed off. We were a large part of every other's lives despite the fact that we never said it publicly. I kept that promise to him for many years, but while he died, I concept it turned into time for the arena to recognize. After the interview aired, the fan network reacted strongly. Tune boards, fan pages, and YouTube channels began to repost vintage theories connecting the scattered information, reinforcing the notion that there was an untold love story among the two artists. But beyond the marvel, most viewers expressed respect due to the kindness and quietness with which Stevie mentioned a beyond dating without any tragedy or drama. No love tale is undying, and if their musical lives are undying hits, then the love story among Stevie Nicks and Randy Meisner is a silent piece of track, short, lovely, and well worth being attentive to. What she shared no longer simplest showed in vintage rumor, however additionally unfolded part of her personal records that had in no way been advised. When Speak Me approximately Randy Meisner, Stevie Nicks no longer only mentioned their dating, however additionally discovered for the first time a detail that taken aback fanatics. Meisner had written a tune for her, however never released it. The song In Step with Stevie turned into written throughout the time, while the two were nonetheless together, especially in overdue 1976, while the Eagles had been making ready to finish the Motel California album, and Fleetwood Mac was coming into a nerve-wracking duration before Rumors was released. The track became referred to as Observed My Love. It by no means seemed on any album, nor is there an legit copyright registration in the public database. According to Stevie, Meisner recorded a demo on his non-public equipment at his domestic in Topanga Canyon, California, and gave her a copy on cassette tape. She stored it for extra than 40 years without telling absolutely everyone else, not even her bandmates or near friends. Her cause become clear, because it wasn't for all people else, however me. After the interview aired, many fans commenced looking for the original recording. Several rock creditors contacted Meisner's former representatives, but no person confirmed hearing the tune. Even folks who worked in a studio with him had in no way visible a comparable recording. That left Found My Love a mystery, now not best as it become unreleased, but due to the fact handiest one man or woman had ever showed its existence, Stevie Nicks. A few track websites and podcasts have started to speculate that Meisner may additionally have destroyed the authentic earlier than her demise, or deliberately saved it from being released to keep the personal spirit of their courting. Despite the fact that in step with a source close to Stevie, she nonetheless has the cassette in a non-public archive, something she has never revealed to any document label or press. Whilst requested if she plans to launch the track, Stevie declined to answer directly, announcing simplest, "It's still there, and I nonetheless pay attention to it as soon as a 12 months the month Meisner dies." What makes Located My Love special is not just that it's an unreleased tune, but that it may be one of the most personal portions Meisner has ever written. At some stage in his career, he has been regarded to turn away from the highlight, keep away from controversy, and live out his days inside the shadows. This song, If It's For Stevie, is one of the few instances he has expressed his feelings directly through tune, no longer for release, not for a contract, however genuinely to report something that once turned into. Stevie's public assertion of the song's lifestyles in 2025 turned into a gesture of closure. She failed to announce its release, nor did she use it as a promotional stunt. However, the mere acknowledgement and the description of the song gave listeners an experience of the intensity in their courting. In an age wherein the whole thing is so effortlessly pushed into the media, keeping a tune hidden for almost 50 years become a clean demonstration of her appreciation for the lifeless. The track has to be launched, but the call found My Love has unfolded through the song network as a symbol of silent affection. It isn't on the charts, now not launched on digital platforms, but it is nonetheless present in memory and story. Some fanatics have even started to rewrite the lyrics based totally on Stevie's revelations, growing imaginary variations which have spread on social media. Whether or not genuine or not, all of us affirms the simplest factor this song wishes isn't always income, however to be acknowledged for its unique price, an untouched relic of private affection. To recognize why an unreleased track incorporates such weight, we need to head back to while it became written amid the chaos and brilliance of Yank rock in the 1970s, reminiscences of a decade of rock and roll passion. While you appearance lower back on the golden age of Yank rock inside the 70s, you cannot help but consider names that ruled every essential level. Fleetwood Mac and the Eagles. It changed into a time when rumors became a popular culture phenomenon and Motel California made its indelible mark between the two bands, an internet of private relationships fashioned. And it was this surroundings that opened the door for Stevie Nicks and Randy Meisner to come back together. Fleetwood Mac became a collection of strong personalities and internal conflicts. The strained dating between Stevie and Lindsey Buckingham changed into no secret. Inside the Eagles, Meisner felt more and more remoted amid the dominance of Don Henley and Glenn Frey, who fashioned the band's route and often clashed with Meisner over performance. On foremost tours, it became now not unusual for contributors to avoid every different or experience in separate cars. Pressure from the general public, the label, and the media left many artists feeling trapped in a large treadmill they might not control. It became on this context that Stevie and Randy observed each other, not through musical collaborations or big stage suggests, however via moments behind the scenes. Every become coping with their very own pressures, and that they shared them now not to remedy them, however simply to feel much less alone in a surroundings wherein every person changed into looking to show something. In keeping with a behind-the-scenes team member who labored at the 1977 tour together, Meisner and Nicks frequently observed themselves within the identical backstage place after suggests, no longer openly showing affection, however spending time sitting next to each different, once in a while for hours without announcing a lot. That connection came no longer from a display of love but from a sense of security. Nicks as soon as described Randy, because the best character I should sit down next to while not having to keep in picture. Each had been artists who carried quite a few internal pressure, but who did not want to reveal it to the out-of-doors world. In 1977, whilst the Eagles launched Lodge California and Meisner finished Take It to the Limit, a song he had written and completed, he began to refuse to sing Stay because of the pressure. Glenn Frey became no longer satisfied with this, and the arguments escalated. At a show in Knoxville, Tennessee, the warfare among Meisner and Frey exploded backstage. Just a few months later, Meisner left the band. Stevie recalled the event with remorse. Randy became a man who constantly did what became right for him, even supposing it made other people sad. I assume he left not because he became indignant, but because he changed into tired. Fleetwood Mac in the meantime, changed into no higher. The album rumors added repute and massive sales, however in the back of it have been damaged relationships, addictions and inner conflicts among Lindsey and Stevie. Negative feelings had been pushed to the acute. Nicks was no longer most effective the lyricist, but also the one who kept herself balanced by using leaving after each show. The sleepless nights, busy schedules and mental strain induced her to fall apart. Throughout that time, Randy Meisner became the only individual Stevie allowed himself to be prone with. He failed to attempt to endorse. He didn't ask questions, he simply listened.
In the uncommon conversations which have popped out, the two guys shared how they felt lost of their personal band and the way they'd each taken into consideration quitting the degree, but they stayed, every in their personal way until life took them in specific directions. Stevie once said she didn't understand what to call that relationship, not lovers within the conventional experience, not soulmates, not colleagues, but if that point become a typhoon, Randy was wherein she chose to take safe haven. Each selected to continue their separate trips without guarantees, without blame, and without searching out a manner to reconnect later, due to the fact everyone understood matters that can't final for all time are often the things that leave the innermost impressions, and that is why what they selected to keep mystery for nearly 100 century makes people want to recognize even greater, in the end, what was there between them. Silence inside the vivid. For almost 50 years the connection between Stevie Nicks and Randy Meisner remained hidden from the general public. No newspaper articles, no reports referred to it with any actuality. It wasn't until Nick spoke out in 2025 that fanatics realized what they'd heard became handiest the top of a tale stored secret by means of mutual consent. That is what makes the relationship a unique case in rock song, a without a doubt personal affair among individuals who live in the spotlight. Stevie has said that a part of the motive she failed to percentage became because she respected Rye's manner of lifestyles. He failed to like the highlight. Within the Eagles, Meisner wasn't the center. He wasn't the only main. He wasn't the only talking at press meetings. He changed into the only operating quietly, writing and gambling and now not looking to compete. His departure from the Eagles in 1977 didn't come with a public announcement or negative backlash. He simply walked away quietly. When his spouse Lana Ray Meisner died in a Taking Pictures twist of fate in 2016, he did not speak to the press. Whilst his health declined due to lung sickness, he became down invites from the Eagles to reunite. Meisner has had a clean coverage throughout his lifestyles, now not letting the media dictate his story. Stevie understood and selected to remain silent in that way, despite the fact that she changed into one of the maximum a hit woman artists in rock history, often appearing in front of tens of heaps of human beings. Her private existence changed into something she carefully controlled. Her public relationships had all led to some form of trauma, something Stevie did now not want to repeat. Her dating with Randy turned into therefore saved inside the most personal part of her lifestyles, not to cover, but to shield. Whilst requested why he best shared in spite of everything those years, Stevie without a doubt stated, due to the fact now nobody is affected anymore, no greater band, no extra husband and spouse, no more contract, simplest recollections. That assertion also partially suggests a reality. In the enjoyment industry, the fact once in a while has to wait until there is not anything left to lose earlier than being advised. And it's far really worth noting that although both have long passed through many occasions, they've in no way denied each different, by no means stated each different, in an ambiguous manner, or used each different's name to sell their non-public products. There was an unstated settlement among them. Love might no longer be used as a device, and that agreement held authentic until the very end. Meisner died in July 2023, and Stevie did now not communicate out at once. She sent a wreath and a small handwritten "Be aware. Randy, usually the only who saved me quiet." 2 years later, while the dirt had settled, she advised the tale in a documentary. No headline, no emphasis, only a short communication recorded behind the scenes. Maintaining a relationship quiet doesn't suggest it's any much less profound. At the contrary, it's the separation from the noise that offers this tale its special weight. "I've loved quite a few people," Nicks once stated at a small fan meeting. "However, Randy is the only one I did not have to inform each person to sense cherished." The line didn't make the TV news, and no newspaper pronounced it. However, for the ones present, it confirmed it more than any information file. That courting, even though saved secret for many years, became an inseparable part of the adventure each artist had taken. To apprehend why the instant Stevie spoke up carried such weight, we need to return to where it all started out. Immortal background. Stevie Nicks changed into born in Arizona in 1948 of German, English, Irish and Welsh descent. Growing up in a family that moved regularly, she evolved a rich internal world. While she joined Fleetwood Mac with Lindsey Buckingham in 1975, the band had been around for a while, however had in no way clearly reached its top. Nicks' arrival, together with her haunting voice and extraordinary degree presence, was the catalyst that converted Fleetwood Mac. Album Rumors became an international phenomenon. More than 120 million copies have been bought, and Goals have become the band's first and simplest primary hit inside the US. However, in the back of the success was a chain of personal crises. Stevie and Lindsey's dating fell apart at some point of the recording method. Tensions inside the band meant that each night they needed to put aside their feelings to get the process done. Throughout this time, Stevie had become heavily hooked on cocaine, which led to fitness complications later on and required him to go into rehab in 1986. After settling down, Stevie started out her solo profession with the album Belladonna. The album quick climbed to primary on the Billboard charts, affirming her independence. The song Fringe of 17 have become iconic now. Not handiest for its song, however, also for its lyrics written after the death of her uncle and near friend Robin Anderson. Inside the years that followed, Stevie persevered to release albums, cross on solo tours, collaborate with many artists, and advantage recognition as both a songwriter and performer. She has been inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Repute 2 times. First with Fleetwood Mac in 1998, then as a solo artist in 2019. That is rare for a female artist. In 2025, at age 76, Stevie remains touring and starring inside the Netflix documentary Ryan and Goals, marking one of her most powerful comebacks in current years. Randy Meisner, meanwhile, became the opposite type of artist. Born in Nebraska in 1946, he commenced his profession as a bassist for a number of small companies before co-founding the Eagles in 1971. Meisner not simplest performed bass, but also wrote and sang Take It to the Limit, one of the band's biggest hits. However, he became by no means secure with the spotlight. When Take It to the Restrict have become a live performance spotlight, he started to pull away from the stress of singing high notes. This brought about a conflict with Glenn Frey, and Meisner left the institution after the 1977 tour. But freeing some solo albums, Meisner in no way recaptured the success he loved in the Eagles. He struggled with intellectual fitness issues from bipolar disease to alcoholism, and steadily distanced himself from the music international. His spouse Lana Ray Meisner died in a capturing accident at her domestic in 2016. The incident was widely said, however Meisner gave no interviews, performing handiest in a prison newsletter to close the case. In 2023, Randy Meisner died of persistent obstructive pulmonary ailment. The information became announced quietly. There was no public funeral, no authentic memorial service from the Eagles. Numerous former contributors dispatched condolences, however they have been all brief. The fan reaction, however, was a good deal more profound, especially after Stevie Nicks showed her courting with Meisner. This event not only delivered his name back to the leading edge, after many years, but additionally delivered tune fanatics returned to listen to songs Meisner had written or done. The Stevie Nicks and Randy Meisner romance is now not a rumor. It has been showed, but in a very Stevie way, quietly on the right time without tons fanfare. There are some matters that, even though not shared at the start, can nonetheless go away a long-lasting impact, like an unreleased tune that everybody wants to hear as a minimum once. If you find this tale memorable, make sure to leave a remark underneath sharing your emotions or any reminiscences of their track. Like, subscribe, and proportion this video so you do not miss out on extra music stories, due to the fact every so often the maximum special things come from what turned into as soon as kept secret.